Hello and welcome to the International Soccer Preview by Soccer Files Canada. I'm Kevin, and we are continuing our look at the African Cup 2021 teams, specifically the players here. We have other podcasts that look at the group and cover the history of the teams, but this is just for players, and we're looking at Tunisia today. So those of you who would like to kind of jump ahead to a kind of a summary of the players, you can jump to the end, probably with 3 or 4 minutes left, and we kind of run through the players that we think will be starting, the starting players. And for those of you watching YouTube, we have a simple graphic where you can look at the players' names in writing. And for those listening, we'll try to repeat the names several times just to help you become familiar with the names on the team. So let's begin with manager. And the manager of Tunisia is Monder Kaber. Monder Kaber became the manager in 2019, and basically was a manager of a lot of clubs in Tunisia. AS Marsa is the one he spent the most time with, 4 years in between 2014 and 18. But some of the biggest clubs in Tunisia, Etoile du Sahel and Esperance, and Byzantine twice also. So he will guide them through the tournament, and we will list him as a definite, as a starter, as the starting manager. Okay, let's move on to goalkeepers, and we have one definite candidate in Farooq Ben Mustafa. So Farooq Ben Mustafa played 7 of their 11 games in 2021, and I should point out that these do not include the Arab Cup games in December, but they do include mostly African Cup qualifying in the first half of 2021 and World Cup qualifying in the second half. This is Farooq Ben Mustafa, is 32 years old. He's been with the team since 2010 and has 42 caps. So his first tournament was the 2010 African Cup, but he was just a bench player for a lot of tournaments. He was behind the starter Ayman Mathlouthi, and he wasn't selected for the 2017 African Cup, but did play in the 2018 World Cup. In fact, he was subbed in 15 minutes into game 1, replacing the injured Muez Hassan, who was the starter. And he himself suffered a knee injury and didn't play game 3 there. But he finally was a starter in 2019, but then he lost his starting position. And so, yeah, has never fully come in as a starter, but seems to be now in 2021. At the likely level is Muez Hassan. Muez Hassan played 4 of their 11 games in 2021, was on the bench for 5 others. So he's 26 years old and has 16 caps since 2018. So he, in the World Cup, as I said, was a starter and got injured early on. And also in 2019, was on the squad and replaced the starting keeper there. Okay, and he plays for Club Africain in Tunisia. And I don't think I mentioned that Farooq Ben Mustafa also plays in Tunisia for Esperance. At the possible level, we have Bashir Ben Said. So Bashir Ben Said has no caps for the national team, but he first appeared on the bench in October 2020, and he was on the bench for their last 5 games in 2021. So he's 27 years old with no caps and plays also in Tunisia for Monastir. And possibly on his way out is the once starter Moez Ben Sharifia. So Moez Ben Sharifia did not play any of their games in 2021, and he was on the bench for 2, but was not selected for 9 games, including the last 6. So I'll just quickly go over him because he's a veteran. He plays for Esperance in Tunisia too, and has done so since 2009. He joined the national team in 2012 and has 22 caps and is now 30 years old, so not too old to still play. He was a backup keeper in the 2012, 2015, and 2017 African Cups, but he was a starter in the 2013 version. He wasn't selected for the World Cup squad. He was on the preliminary squad, but didn't make the final cut. And he was involved in 2019 with, I think I said, 2 goalkeepers getting injured. He came in, even though he was the 3rd string keeper, it seemed. Okay, so he's sorry, I maybe spent too much time on him for an unlikely candidate. Also unlikely is Eamonn Darmian. And he's new, 24 years old, and he popped up in 2021 for 1 game, but didn't play the last 6 matches, wasn't on the bench even there. Okay, let's see who made it among the goalkeepers. So let me find my place here. And Farooq Ben Mustafa is selected. So I'm guessing he'll be the starter. Muez Hassan was not selected. And Bashir Ben Said was selected. So I think he will be a backup. And none of the others. Ben Sharifia seems to be off the squad now. Eamonn Darmian, though, was selected. And so I guess he'll be a backup. And we have a new name in Ali Jamal. Ali Jamal, who I think would be a backup keeper also. He has no caps for the national team, but he appeared on the bench as far back as January and June 2016, but then disappeared from the squad and came back 5 years later in September 2021 and was on the bench for 2 of their remaining 6 games. He hadn't been selected for the last 4 matches, but here he is. He plays for Etoile de Sahel in Tunisia. So that's it for goalies. Some big changes there, as they had steady goalies for many years. In defense, we will begin by looking at central defenders, and Dylan Braun is the first candidate who we consider definite. We actually have 3 definite candidates here. Dylan Braun, though, is 26 years old and joined the team in 2017 and has 33 caps and 2 goals. And he was a starter in 2018 World Cup, but he subbed out 24 minutes into game 2 with an injury, and that ended his tournament. But he came back for the 2019 African Cup and started most of the games, did not start the last game in that 3rd place match. I think, I don't know if I said, he played 9 of their 11 games in 2021, which is the main reason we consider him a definite. Also definite is Yassine Mariah. Yassine Mariah played also 9 of their 11 games in 2021 and was on the bench for the 2 others. And he is 28 years old, and he's been with the team since 2015 and has 53 caps and 2 goals. So he plays for Al Ain in the UAE, and before that he was with Olympiacos in Greece. And he was selected for the preliminary squad in 2017, but didn't make the final cut. But by 2018 in the World Cup, he was the starter. So he started and finished all games, scored an own goal in that cup. In the 2019 African Cup, he was also a starter and was actually named to the team of the tournament, the only Tunisian named to the team of the tournament there. And also on the definite is a new player to the squad, Montessori Alby. Montessori Alby earned his first cap in March, but went on to play 8 of their 11 games and was on the bench for 3 others. So he is just 23 years old, and those 8 caps in 2021 are his only caps, his total caps for Tunisia, and he plays with Rubin Kazan in Russia. So he seems to have worked his way in quickly, and that makes 3 definite candidates for central defenders. So maybe one of them is playing out of position, or perhaps they favor a 3 centre-back lineup. Just a couple of other names. Omar Rakic, we consider possible but unlikely. And he's just 20 years old, so we will come back to him if he's selected, but kind of more of a future candidate there. And also possible but unlikely is Mohammed Ali Yakubi. He returned after a 4-year absence in March 2021 to the bench, I believe. Anyway, he's kind of been in and around the team. A sub player in 2015 and 17, but not called up to the tournaments after that. And then a couple of candidates who seem to be off the team. So Ayman Abdenor is, I'll just say he's been off the team in terms of tournaments for a while. His last tournament was when he was a starter in 2017, but he wasn't selected for the 2 tournaments, 2018 World Cup and 2019 African Cup. However, he did appear once again for the team in November 2019, but that was it. He kind of came and went. Okay, also off the team, Siam Ben Youssef, a starter in 2015, 17, and in the 2018 World Cup. He was not selected in 2019, but he did appear last in March 2019. Zaid Bougatas in the same category, seems to be off the team. And he last appeared in November 2019. He was a kind of a surprise selection in 2017 for the African Cup, but he just spent the time on the bench there and hasn't been in a tournament since. Shamsuddin Dawoodi, or Dawoodi perhaps. Shamsuddin Dawoodi last appeared for the team in September 2019. Also had never really made his way into the squad, although he was a sub in a couple of tournaments up to 2017. Nasim Hanid, he was a sub in the 2019 African Cup, but he appeared only in Game 7, and he last appeared for Tunisia in that cup. I'm going to jump down to Mark Lumpy. Similarly, hasn't appeared since November 2020, but was a sub in the 2019 African Cup. And finally, Bilal Ifa. Similarly, like he was on the squad in 2010 African Cup as a sub, was a starter in 2012 and 2013, but hasn't been called up since. He was called up, though, after an 8-year absence for the Arab Cup, which was kind of curious, but it would be a surprise if he made it onto the squad. But perhaps some of those players who played well in the Arab Cup, that was maybe a trial for them here. Okay, so a lot of names there. And we see Dylan Braun is no surprise. He was a definite for us. But surprisingly, Yassine Mariah was not selected. Montessori Alby was selected. So those are two of our three definite candidates. And a couple of the ones who seem to be off the squad, or possible but unlikely, was Omar Rakic, but he was selected. And jumping way down to the bottom, Bilal Ifa was selected, the player who came back after an 8-year absence. So I'll just give a little more detail on him. As I said, he has been around since the 2010 African Cup, but 2008 was his first cap. He's now 31 years old and has 23 caps. And he was a starter in 2012 and 13, as I said. And not selected for any of the 4 tournaments since then. But in the 2017 African Cup, he at least made the preliminary squad. But then he seemed to be well and gone until called up for the Arab Cup, as I said. So he plays for Club Africain in Tunisia and has done so for the last 14 years. So a real surprise selection in Bilal Ifa, and a surprise that Yassine Mariah was not selected. Okay, so I'm going to put Dylan Braun and Montessori Alby as starters, and Omar Rakic and Bilal Ifa as substitutes. All right, let's move on to left backs, and we have one definite candidate in Ali Malu. So Ali Malu played 9 of their 11 games in 2021 and was injured for the first 2 of those. He is 31 years old and has been with the team since 2013 with 70 caps and 1 goal. So he's been the starter in the 2015, 2017 African Cups and in the World Cup 2018. However, he was not selected for the 2019 African Cup, which was a bit of a surprise to all. A likely candidate is Usama Hadidi. Usama Hadidi played 2 of their 11 games in 2021, but he was on the bench for all 9 others. So he is 29 years old, has been with Tunisia since 2015 and has 27 caps and no goals. He was actually selected for the preliminary squad in 2017, but didn't make the final squad. But he was on the squad in 2018 World Cup, but just as a substitute. He appeared in just game 3 there. But he was finally a starter in the 2019 African Cup. So a likely candidate here, although perhaps playing second fiddle there to Ali Malul. Finally, a possible candidate in Ali Abdi. Ali Abdi appeared on the bench in 2018, but had never been capped until he returned in March 2021 and played 4 of their remaining 11 games and was on the bench for 6 others. So he also seems kind of likely, at least as a bench player. Okay, let's check and see which of these made it. And surprisingly, it turns out all of them did. So Ali Malul, Usama Hadidi, Abdi and Ali Abdi. And not only that, but a player has been added. So that's odd that they have 4 players for the one position of left back. But obviously some of them are playing out of position. And the one that was added is Mohammed Amin Ben Hamidi. So he actually is new to the squad, never appeared for the national team before playing in the Arab Cup. So I guess he made an impression in the Arab Cup. He's 26 years old and has 6 caps for the national team since 2021 and plays for Esperance in Tunisia. So making the squad there. And hard to say in terms of starters, obviously Ali Malu is a starter, but Hadidi, yeah, I think we have to put him as a substitute, even though he was a starter in 2019. Oh, that makes sense now. He was a starter in 2019 because Ali Malu wasn't selected. So I'll put Ali Abdi as a substitute and Mohammed Amin Ben Hamida. But it may be that some of those will start in a different position. However, at right back, they do have a definite candidate and a likely one. So there is not much room on the other side for them. Wabi Kazri is the definite candidate. Wabi Kazri played 6 of their 11 games in 2021 and was on the bench for 5 others. So he, in 2019 African Cup, started, but then he was relegated to the bench for the last 2 games, games 6 and 7. I should have given his biographical information first. He's 26 years old and has been on the team since 2019, but has 18 caps in that time. And he's one of the players who plays outside of Africa. He plays for Salernitana in Italy. Okay, so moving on to the likely candidate is Hamza Mathlouthi. Hamza Mathlouthi returned after a 2-year absence in September to play 4 of their remaining 6 games in 2021 and was on the bench for 2 others. So he is 29 years old and has 33 caps since his first in 2014. And he was on the squad for the 2015 African Cup, where he started, where he was a starter. But he wasn't a starter for the 2017 African Cup. He was on the bench for the whole tournament. And then not selected for the 2018 World Cup or the 2019 African Cup. So making his way back here. But he got a lot of games in 2021. Basically, Mathlouthi and Kazri shared the position, it seems. A possible candidate, though, is Mohammed Braga. So Mohammed Braga had played 4 of their 11 games in 2021 and was on the bench for 3. And he even scored a goal in qualifying. So he's 25 years old and has been with the team since 2018 and has 20 caps and 3 goals, actually. So he was born in Germany, but plays for Nottingham Forest in England. And before that was with Olympiacos in Greece after leaving teams he played in Germany. He played for in Germany. He was a substitute in the 2019 African Cup, but gained a starting position for the last 2 games, games 6 and 7. And then someone who seems to be off the team is Rami Badui. So Rami Badui last appeared for the team in September 2019. He was a starter in 2019, but lost his starting position in that tournament after game 1. And otherwise, in tournaments before that, he was just a sub. So he's only 31 years old, but as I say, last appeared in September 2019. So let's see who of these right backs made the squad. And we have Wabi Kazri not making the squad. A surprise, because we considered him a definite candidate. So it looks like the starter would be Hamza Mathlouthi, who did make the squad. And so I will nominate him as the starter. And Mohammed Braga also made the squad, and I will put him as the substitute. Not that I'm necessarily right. Rami Badui didn't make the squad. But yeah, based on their appearances and history, that's how we're basing our speculation of who's going to start. All right, so that completes the defense. And we'll move on to midfielders. And we'll start with defensive midfielders. In Ferjani Sassi. Ferjani Sassi is a likely candidate, having played 7 of their 11 games in 2021, although he wasn't selected for 4 of those games. So he's 29 years old and has been with the team since 2013 and has 66 caps and 5 goals. And he plays for Al Duhail in Qatar. And he's played all over the Middle East, in Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and even for Metz in France. So he's been around for a long time. He was a sub in the 2015 African Cup and gained a starting position there, and then was a starter in 2017 African Cup and the 2018 World Cup. But by the time the 2019 African Cup came around, he was a sub again, but as in 2015, worked his way into a starting position for the last 3 games of that tournament. So now he seems, he seemed established, so perhaps being a sub in 2019 was more of a surprise, but he seems back in the position now, especially since the next candidate is just is possible but unlikely, and it is Mohammed Amin Ben Amour. He played none of their games in 2021, but he was injured for 5 and was on the bench for 2. So if he's recovered from his injury, he may come back. But he's never been firmly established in the team, a sub in 2017 and 2018, and not selected in 2019. And then we have a few names that have just popped up. We won't go into detail. 22-year-old Malek Bayu, but he last appeared in November 2019. And Jeremy Duziak also last appeared in September 2019. And Hamza Jalasi last appeared in October 2019. So if any of those are selected, we'll go back and take a closer look. But none of them are very experienced with the national team. And actually, let's just check and see then defensive midfielders. So surprisingly, none of them were selected. Ferjani Sassi is the biggest surprise there, but he was not chosen. And the other candidates were either unlikely or seemed to be off the squad. None of those that I mentioned were chosen. But I'm guessing then more central midfielders will be chosen, and that's not a surprise since we have 3 definite candidates there. Okay, so we'll begin with Mohammed Ali Ben Romdane. Mohammed Ali Ben Romdane had played 8 of their 11 games in 2021 and was on the bench for 2 others. And he's really new to the squad. He's very young, I should say, 22 years old, but has been around since 2019 and has earned 12 caps in that time. So he's with Esperance in Tunisia, and looks like he has quickly made his way into the squad, the young 22-year-old. The next candidate who we consider definite is even younger, just 20 years old, but Anis Bel Slimane. Anis Bel Slimane played 10 of their 11 games in 2021 and even scored a goal in qualifying. So he's been with the team since 2020, but already has 4 caps and 14 goals. And he was born in Denmark. He plays for Brøndby in Denmark. So some really fresh blood there. And the third definite candidate is Aisa Leiduni. Aisa Leiduni played his first cap in March 2021, but went on to play all 11 of their games. So all three of these guys playing a lot of them, a lot of their games in 2021. I'm going to move up Leiduni to the top there, having played all 11 games. He's 25 years old, and those 11 caps are his total number of caps, and he has one goal besides. So he plays for Ferencvárosi in Hungary. So playing outside of Tunisia there. So the next one is Galen Chali, but he faces a bit of an uphill battle trying to break in amongst those players. He returned after a 2-year absence in November to play the last two of their remaining games. So when they play just before the tournament, it's always kind of a sign that they may be under greater consideration. Of course, there was the Arab Cup in between, but and actually Tunisia did bring some of their top players, but generally the ones who were based in Africa. So I'm guessing Galen Chali did play in the Arab Cup. I'm not 100% sure, but he is 27 years old and has been with the team since 2017 and has 21 caps. And he plays in Tunisia for Esperance. In between that, for a year, he went to a club in Turkey but came back. So he was in the 2018 World Cup squad, but he only appeared in Game 3 there. And in 2019, he was a starter for most of the games, for 5 of the 7 games there. But then he was, as I said, off the team after that and returned in November 2021. Okay, then a couple of names possible but unlikely is Elias Skiri. Elias Skiri is an injury doubt, actually. He played 8 of their 11 games in 2021, but was injured for the last 2 of those, which is why I guess Galen Chali, I keep saying that wrong, Galen Chilali. I'll repeat what I'm saying. So Elias Skiri was a regular in the squad, but was injured for the last 2 games. So Gaili Chalali was brought back in. So I suppose the state of his injury dictates whether he would be selected or not. He's 26 years old and has been with the team since 2018 and has 40 caps. And he plays for FC Cologne in Germany. So I'm just, there's so many candidates here that I'm a bit confused how they fit them all in. Elias Skiri has been a starter in the 2018 World Cup and in the 2019 African Cup. So if he wasn't injured, I would put him as another definite candidate. So four candidates who seem to be selected as starters all the time. And the last person we'll mention here is Ahmed Khalil, who seems to be off the squad and was never more than a substitute, but he was in the 2017 African Cup and 2018 World Cup on the bench, but selected anyway. He was not selected for the African Cup 2019 and hasn't been selected since. So I really shouldn't have him in the list. But okay, let's see among the central defenders who made it. And I'm thinking quite a few of them did. In fact, all of them. Aisa Leiduni, Muhammad Ali Belromdain, Anis Ben Slimane. The injured Ellis Skiri seems to be recovered enough to be selected, and even Galen Chalili, who I thought was brought in to replace him, was selected. All 5 of them, and at least 4 of them regular starters. So I'll put Galen Chalili as a sub there, but I'm going to leave the other 4 as starters since they all played 8 games or more in 2021. So let's move on to left midfielders. We have Saif Adeemi Kawi as a likely candidate. So Saif Adeemi Kawi played 6 of their 11 games in 2021 and was on the bench for 3 others. He also scored 3 goals in qualifying, including a pair in the opener at home to Libya, and he was among their top scorers there. He is 26 years old and has been with the team since 2018 and has 23 caps and 4 goals. So he was selected for the World Cup in 2018, but he only appeared in 1 game, in game 2 there. And he wasn't selected in 2019. However, he has played a significant number of games in 2021. And then one of their bigger names in Wabi Kazri. Wabi Kazri is 30 years old now. He's been with the team since 2013 and has 65 caps and 22 goals. But he hasn't always been a starter. In the 2013 African Cup, and I'll get to 2000. He was just on the bench. He was a starter in 2015. Started all games, but he was just a sub in African Cup 2017. But I see that was because he kind of came in with an ankle injury and then gained a starting position once he had recovered. So a starter in the World Cup also in 2018 and in the African Cup 2019, where he was actually really excellent. Kind of an outstanding player there. So he played 8 of their games in 2021 and was injured for 1, but that didn't matter much because he recovered from that. And he scored 3 of their goals in qualifying, but he missed a penalty also. He also missed a penalty in 2022 World Cup qualifying. So I think he missed maybe 2 of their 4 penalties. So I'm surprised. Usually when you miss one, somebody else takes over as the penalty taker. The last name for left midfielder is Ayman Ben Mohammed, and we have him as possible but unlikely. He last appeared for the national team in November 2020, but he was a sub in 2019. So we'll come back to him if he was selected. But let's see which of these players made it. And Saif Adeemi Kawi was selected, and no surprise, Wabi Kazri also was. And I should probably have had Wabi Kazri as a definite. In fact, I kind of pip him as the starter between the 2 of them there. And I'm going to put Kawi as the backup for that position. And Eamon Ben Mohammed was not selected. Okay, on the right side, we just have right midfielder. We have a couple of names. Larry Azuni, who we consider seems to be off the squad, so I'll deal with him quickly. He was a starter in the 2017 African Cup, but never chosen for a tournament after that, and last appeared in March 2019. So even though he's just 27, he seems to be off the squad. And Salim Khalifi also seems to be off the squad, having last played in 2019. So I'll just quickly confirm that neither of those players made it. And we'll move on to the left wingers. So left winger Naeem Sliti is considered likely. He played 8 of their 11 games in 2021 and was not selected for the 3 others. He is 29 years old and has been with the team since 2016 and has 54 caps and 12 goals. So he plays for Etifak in Saudi Arabia and played for several clubs in France before that, and was in fact born in France. So he was a starter in the 2017 African Cup and also in the 2018 World Cup and the 2019 African Cup too. So yeah, he played quite well in 2019 and is a likely candidate here. Sebastian Trunecti is a possible candidate. Sebastian Trunecti earned his first cap in October and played one of their remaining 10 games in 2021 and was on the bench for 5. I wonder if he was involved in the African Cup because the numbers don't add up there. Anyway, he's 19 years old and we'll talk more about him if he makes it. Same with Ali Youssef, who is an injury doubt. But the 21-year-old just basically made an appearance before he got injured for the last 6 games. He was involved in 2 games. Okay, let's see. And no surprise, Naeem Sliti is there. We had him as a likely candidate. And I'll put him as the starter on the left wing, although Wabi Kazri is a left midfielder, so they overlap a bit there. Okay, but the other players, Trunecti and the young Ali Youssef, did not make the squad. Okay, and finally in the midfield, we'll look at the right wing, and we have a possible candidate in Farooq Ben Mustafa. So Farooq Ben Mustafa came back after a 2-year absence in September 2021 to play 4 of their remaining 6 games. However, he was not there for the last 2 matches. So even though he's been with the team since 2012, the 2013 African Cup and the 2018 World Cup were the only tournaments he played. He missed the 3 other tournaments. However, he was a starter in the 2018 World Cup. So anyway, just a possible candidate here, and seems to be off the squad is Ben Swarfi. Ben Swarfi last played for the team in October 2019, but he was a sub in the 2018 World Cup and in the 2019 African Cup. But the 24-year-old seems to be off the team now, and we'll say more about him if he's selected. But I'm just looking at who was selected here, and neither Farooq Ben Mustafa or Bassem Swarfi were selected. So that brings us to the end of what we consider the midfield, because we put attacking midfield as part of the basically the attack or forward line. And so attacking midfielders begins with the likely candidate Yusuf Nsakni, and I believe he's the captain of the team. Yeah, he is. He played 5 of their 11 games in 2021 and was on the bench for 1 other. So not selected for the last 2 matches. So we would normally have him as a possible candidate, but he's a pretty big name for the team. However, he's not always selected, and if he is selected, not always a starter. So he was a sub in the 2013 and 15 African Cups and not selected for the World Cup, although I do see that was because of an injury. However, he was a starter in as far back as the 2010 African Cup, and then in the 2013, 17, and 19 Cups, he was a starter. I should go back to his bio information and say he's 31 years old and has been with the team since 2010 and has 72 caps and 13 goals. And he's currently playing for Al Duhai in Qatar. He's been with them for so long, actually, that he was also with them when they were called Laquia. He's been with them since 2012 there in Qatar. So that is Youssef Msakni, a likely candidate, and also likely is Hamza Raffia. He's just 22 years old, so kind of the opposite end of the spectrum. But he plays for, I'll say he's been with the team since 2019, but already has 15 caps. And he played 8 of their 11 games in 2021, which is why we consider him likely. And he plays for Juventus in Germany, but is currently on loan to Standard Liège in Belgium. Okay, next is a possible candidate in Saad Mageer. Saad Mageer played 4 of their 11 games in 2021 and was on the bench for 2 others. And he's never been involved in a tournament, although he's been with the team since 2015. He has 16 caps and 5 goals and is 27 years old. And he also plays in Saudi Arabia. He plays in Saudi Arabia for a team called Abha, which I'm not actually familiar with, but he was with Esperance in Tunisia before that. Okay, I'm just going to take a sip of water. All right. On to possible but unlikely candidates. Hannibal Mesbury. And he's just 18 years old and is with the under-23 Manchester United team. But it seems like his time hasn't come yet. Firas Ben Larby returned after a 2-year absence to the Arab Cup. So he's a consideration because I think I'm not sure why he's on my list. Anyway, we'll come back to him if he's selected. Anis Badri seems to be off the squad. He was a starter in the 2018 World Cup and started some games in the 2019 African Cup, but last played in November 2019. So we'll come back to him if he's selected. Maher Hanachi also seems to be off the team. He last played in October 2019. And Mohammed Ali Monsur. Mohammed Ali Monsur was a starter in the 2015 African Cup, but actually not selected since then, but did reappear in September 2019, but not since then. So let's take a look at who of those made it. And Captain Youssef Msakni was selected. And also Hamza Raffia. Now I'm actually going to put Hamza Raffia as the starter there. That's my feeling. And Youssef Msakni, I feel, will be a substitute because he's getting old and didn't start a lot of games in 2021. So I may be dead wrong there. Also, a bit surprisingly, it is Hannibal Mesbury. 22 years old, 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 22 ye was selected. We had him as possible but unlikely. So I'll go back and tell you about him. He's 18 years old. I said he was with the Man United under-23 team, and he earned his first cap in June and went on to play 3 of their remaining 9 games, but he hadn't been selected for the last 6 matches, which is why we thought he was not a likely candidate. But bringing some youth into the squad, I do not imagine, though, he'll be a starter, but it would be fun to see what he's like if he comes on as a sub. Okay, well, we have just one candidate at secondary striker position, and that is Isam Jabali. Isam Jabali, we consider possible but unlikely, though. He returned after a 3-year absence in June and played 2 of their remaining 9 games, but then he wasn't selected for the last 6 matches. So he's 35 years old, so we don't consider him very likely. Okay, but I'm just checking and seeing that he seems to have not been selected initially and then brought in to replace someone. So I'm just going to check and make sure on that. Yes, Firas Ben Larby. Where was Firas Ben Larby? Okay, if we go back to attacking midfielders, Firas Ben Larby was actually selected, but then he withdrew due to an injury, and he was replaced by Isam Jabali. So a pretty unlikely choice, I must say. The 35-year-old. The 35-year-old. He did play for Elfsborg in Sweden, but he's kind of such an unlikely member of the squad that I didn't actually update his club. So, oh, hang on, I can find out who he plays for now. He plays for Odense in Denmark. So anyway, I don't imagine he'll be a starter. Let's move on to forwards with Saif Adeemi Jaziri as a possible, as a definite candidate. So Saif Adeemi Jaziri played 9 of their 11 games in 2021 and was on the bench for the 2 others. So a definite candidate. He's 28 years old and has been with Tunisia since 2016 and has 13 caps, just 13 caps in that time, but 6 goals. So that's pretty impressive. He's never been selected for a tournament, though. He got his first cap in 2016, but then was off the team until 2020. So he came back after an almost 5-year absence and did well, scoring 3 of their 14 goals in qualifying there. So an interesting story there of someone who's made it back onto the team at 28 years old. Firas Chauat has an illegal number of vowels in his name, I feel, and has played none of their 11 games. There actually is a goalkeeper, an ex-goalkeeper, and I believe it was from Tunisia, who had 7 vowels in a row in his name. I have no idea how to say it. Unfortunately, I don't have to because he's no longer on the team. Anyway, Firas Chauat, I hope I don't appear insulting. I'm just kind of a language person, I guess. Played none of their 11 games in 2021 and was on the bench for 2 of those. Maybe even possible is, and he wasn't selected for the last game. So I think I'll move him down to possible but unlikely. The 25-year-old has been with the team since 2018, and he was a sub in 2019 African Cup. Okay, a couple of other names. Well, that's not a lot of forwards to choose from, but I guess they have a lot of attacking. No, wow, they really don't have many attacking players. I guess I'm thinking of the central midfielders they did have a lot of, but they're generally not attacking players. So I'm foreseeing a bit of a goal shortage here for Tunisia, unless I'm misunderstanding things, because the next candidate we have, I just moved Firas Chow down to possible but unlikely, and also Nabil Makni is the same. He last appeared in 2020, even though he's just 20 years old. Doesn't seem to be playing for the squad recently. Hazem Haj Hassan last played in October 2019, so also seems to be off the squad. And finally, we have Taha Yassin Kanisi, but he also seems to be off the squad. So he's just 29 years old, but he hasn't played since November 2019. And he was a sub in 2017, injured for the 2018 World Cup, and started as a sub in 2019, but gained a starting position, but hasn't played since November 2019. Good Lord, what are they going to do to get goals here? The only one of these selected actually was Sefadine Jaziri, so that's no surprise since he was a definite candidate. And given the lack of other attackers, we have to say he'd be a starter. And they have added one player to the squad, and that in itself kind of illustrates how short they are on attackers, because the player they've added is Joanne Tuskar. And Joanne Tuskar is 35 years old, but has never played for the national team. I have him as returning from a 4-year absence, so perhaps he was on the bench in the past, but he has no caps. So he plays for Lens in France and has done so since 2013. So, yeah, we're not going to have a long discussion of players, but the pattern I see there is a bit of a lack of forwards, not a bit of a lack of forwards, a desperate lack of forwards from the way it looks here. So, again, I don't think Tunisia has ever been a high scoring. They tend to be a more defensive team. But this situation seems quite bad in terms of the number of scoring players that they have. And I'm just going to look to see how many goals they got in qualifying, because I'm curious. They did get 14 goals in qualifying, so they're coming from somewhere. Wabi Kazri is a scorer, so some of those left midfielders, Wabi Kazri and Hamza Raffia, they'll be relying on them to get goals. Anyway, I'm going to go back and do a quick review of the players that we think are starters. So we begin with manager Monter Keber. Will be leading them through the tournament. The likely starting goalkeeper is Farooq Ben Mustafa, and in central defence, Dylan Braun and Montessori Alby. Yassine Meria, a surprise non-selection there. At left back, we have Ali Malouli, but Usama Hadidi looks like he might play a role there. And right back, Hamza Maflouthi with Waji Ketrida, a surprise non-selection there. Also, Ferjani Sassi was a surprise non-selection as a defensive midfielder, but they have a lot of players available in the central midfielder who all seem to be starting in 2021 in Aisa Leiduni, Mohammed Ali Ben Romdane, and Anis Ben Slimani. And also Elias Skiri, who seems to have overcome an injury to be selected. Left midfielder, definite candidate is Wabi Kazri. And on the left wing also is Naeem Sliti. So they don't really have anyone nominated on the right wing. So maybe one of those players or one of the players we have as substitutes will move over to the right. As a forward, it's very thin. Attacking midfielder Hamza Raffia, although Yusuf Msakni, the captain, may play a role there. And forwards, we really only have one that we see as a starter, Sefadin Jaziri, there. And they brought in 35-year-old Joanne Tuskar, seemingly to bolster up that position, which is lacking players. Okay, well, that brings us to the end of our look at Tunisian players. And we'll sign out. This is the International Soccer Preview by Soccer Files Canada. And you can find us on the internet by searching Soccer Files. That's soccer with a PH in the middle and a plural, Soccer Files. And you can find us at our website too at soccerfiles.captivate.fm. And if you would like to communicate with us, soccerfiles@gmail.com is the way to do it. Thank you very much for listening, and we hope you enjoyed this introduction to Tunisian players. And all the best. I hope you enjoy the African Cup. Bye-bye.